Shedeur is everything that a winning coach wants for a quarterback that can help to build a dynasty. But can't nobody else get him until somebody shakes some shit up. So we just gonna keep on holding people accountable till they start shaking.
The NFL rumor machine just went into overdrive, and all eyes are locked on the Cleveland Browns and their risky new quarterback project, Shedeur Sanders. Word on the street is half the league already thinks Cleveland isn't worthy of holding on to him, and now rival teams are basically setting up tents outside the Browns' front office with trade offers. From franchises begging for a miracle to coaches behaving like they're in some late-night eBay bidding war, the madness is loud and messy. So the real question, what's actually happening here?
Gabriel boy go out here and panic his ass off soon as he get thrown in there with the Wolves. Because the real Wolves come during the season. Yeah. Pittsburgh is coming. Baltimore is coming. The real Wolves is coming. Now, I am praying to God that Shedeur gets an opportunity to show what he can really do. And I think that would be probably the best thing for him. But knowing the Cleveland Browns, they dumbass gonna trade him.
The NFL trade lines are blowing up so wild right now, you'd swear the league launched a charity telethon for quarterback-hungry teams. And right in the middle of all this chaos, none other than Shedeur Sanders, the prized piece Cleveland is clutching like he's the very last PlayStation 5 on Black Friday. Squads are begging, pleading, straight up groveling for a shot at him, but the Browns aren't budging 1 inch. Their response couldn't be clearer. Absolutely not. Now go cry into your playbooks. You've got the Bengals ringing nonstop like an ex who suddenly realized they messed up big time. Miami keeps blowing up Cleveland's phone because Tua picked Week 1 as the perfect moment to forget how to play quarterback, while the Rams are calling in between Stafford's chiropractor visits like clockwork. And then the Colts tried to get bold, tossing around the idea of flipping Anthony Richardson like he's nothing more than a scratch-off lottery ticket, hoping maybe, just maybe, they'd hit the jackpot.
They don't want the guy. The owner don't want him. The coach don't want him. The general manager don't want him. They don't want him on the team. Obviously, the NFL do not want Shiloh or Shedeur in the league, but Shedeur is good for money and ratings, or he wouldn't even be there. They don't ever want him to play. Deion showed them yesterday of how he ran Colorado, what Cleveland should be doing. But they ain't gonna do it. Instead, they list Shedeur as inactive for today's game. Listen, man.
And Cleveland? They're just sitting back with a grin, arms crossed like a brick wall saying, nope, not today, not tomorrow, not ever, unless pigs start flying and Belichick shows up rocking a crop top. But here's the crazy part. While front offices across the league are burning through their Verizon minutes begging for Shedeur Sanders, Cleveland's got him chilling on the depth chart as nothing more than a third stringer.
You done had 3 teams. So y'all ain't know that this come from the inside. Somebody in the inside is sick of the Browns themselves. 3 teams ask for Shedeur. They want to train him. They want to start him. You know what the Browns did? Nope. We gonna keep him. Nope. See, that's the devil. But let me tell you.
Third in line, behind 40-year-old Joe Flacco, who at this point should honestly come with a senior citizen discount, and Dylan Gabriel, whose biggest claim to fame so far is getting mistaken for the dude who tops off the Gatorade jugs. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders isn't even suiting up for games. He's basically Cleveland's most valuable mannequin, a supposed franchise savior lounging in sweatpants on the sidelines. And the wildest part? It's not just frustrating, it's flat-out comical. Because when you peek at the actual 2026 draft class, Cleveland's scouting like bargain hunters rummaging through a Saturday yard sale. Look at Arch Manning, 11 completions on 25 attempts, 1 lonely touchdown, and an interception. That stat line screams Pop Warner scrimmage, not future face of the NFL. Then there's Drew Aller, 16 for 29, a touchdown, a pick, and so many incompletions he's giving punters anxiety. But somehow, in Cleveland's infinite genius, they still think it makes sense to keep scouting. Yeah, let's ignore the guy already flashing NFL-level accuracy and leadership and instead drool over quarterbacks who keep serving the ball to defenders like it's their job. Totally logical, right?
Give the people what they want.
For sure. I mean, listen, what do I want to watch? I want to watch Shedeur Sanders.
Who doesn't want to watch that? The world
Listen.
wants to see him go out there and not only play, but have success. At this point, guys are rooting for him. This isn't anything against Dylan. This isn't anything against Joe. I'm just saying the excitement is there for him to go out there. He's going to put eyes on the screen. He is going to bring people to the game. It is what it is, man. I would love to fucking see it, man. Yeah. I say all this as a fellow Clevelander, and I hear with the chatter around Cleveland and how everybody just you get Deion's son in the building. He enjoys being in the limelight. He enjoys being on that football field. He's got excitement. He's the showman when he plays.
The real kicker? How the Browns even landed Shedeur Sanders in the first place. 5th round, pick 144. That's basically the garage sale section of the NFL draft. And Cleveland lucked out because every other franchise collectively lost brain cells that night. Even the Saints passed on him to grab Tyler Show, which in football terms should practically be classified as a crime. But the Browns front office knows exactly what they stumbled onto. Andrew Berry basically admitted the league blew it by letting Sanders slide, and now they're holding him tight like a toddler, refusing to give up their favorite toy. And honestly, who can blame them? Sanders isn't just some random arm on the roster. He's out here pulling community moves that would make Mr. Rogers jealous. Remember that apartment fire at Rainbow Terrace? While most rookies would have been wandering around Cleveland figuring out the saddest spot to grab pierogies, Sanders was on the ground, organizing help, showing up for families, and sponsoring events to lift the community. Meanwhile, disaster strikes elsewhere. The Bengals lose Joe Burrow to injury, and suddenly Sanders' name is plastered all over their emergency wish list. Down in Miami, Tua's busy treating the football like a game of hot potato, and Dolphins fans are flooding Twitter with one demand, #TradeForSanders.
With all three guys to really give the defense a good look. Because being a scout team quarterback, you're working on your own craft, but really it's an art form to replicate the opponent so the defense can be ready to do their thing on Sunday. Yeah, I'd say it's a little bit different, and it's exciting because those guys do take pride in getting the defense ready. They want to do a good job of replicating the opponent's offense, and at the same time, they want to try to relate any play that they get to our game plan for that week too, so they can feel like they can get a little double duty there. Well, the quarterbacks are trying to do their best. As we know, tough to replicate that character.
The Rams are staring at Matthew Stafford's spine like it's a ticking time bomb ready to go off any second, while the Colts are side-eyeing Anthony Richardson, wondering if he's really the guy or just some temporary science experiment gone wrong. These teams are desperate, absolutely starving for answers, and Cleveland's got the cure stashed away in a closet. And here's where the comedy really lands. Because Sanders isn't just a quarterback, he's a full-blown culture shift walking around in cleats. Let's keep it real. The Browns have been a certified factory of misery for decades. The drive, the fumble, that never-ending quarterback carousel that feels like a cruel game of musical chairs sponsored by tears. But then along comes Shedeur Sanders. He rolled into Jackson State and turned them into a powerhouse overnight. He showed up at Colorado and instantly resurrected a program that had been collecting dust for years. He's a fixer, a problem solver, the kind of leader who can walk into a dumpster fire and somehow walk out with a fireplace that actually works. And Cleveland is exactly the dumpster fire in need of that miracle. But of course, not everybody sees it that way. ESPN voices are already screaming, if you're not going to play him, then trade him. Tony Rizzo even had a meltdown, blasting the Browns for using Sanders as nothing more than a jersey-selling mascot. And honestly, that's not the wildest take. Because how long can you keep a Ferrari locked in the garage while the rest of the league is stuck driving around in minivans?
So Cleveland ESPN has reported that Shedeur Sanders is not receiving any reps. That means no second team, third team, not even scout team reps. Meaning he's just sitting in practice, throwing the ball to whoever and just going through drills all day. No practice reps? No nothing? He can't improve? Why? Why is he not given an opportunity to even improve his skills? That's the whole point of practice. I understand not letting him go with the ones at this point. You've made it clear. Maybe even second team, but not even scout team reps.
But let's not pretend like the Browns are just winging it with no direction, because Kevin Stefanski keeps insisting that Shedeur Sanders is developing, which, let's be real, is just coach speak for, we don't actually know what the hell we're doing yet, but we'll figure it out. And maybe that's not the worst thing. Maybe sitting behind Flacco's ancient playbook of wisdom for a year isn't the craziest idea. Let the old vet show him how to stand tall in the pocket, dodge backbreaking picks, and maybe even how to order from the senior menu at Denny's without embarrassment. Eventually, though, those training wheels are coming off. And the real fireworks? They're set to explode around the trade deadline, November 4th. Circle it on the calendar. That's when teams like the Rams, desperate for a future lifeline, could throw down multiple picks just to get their hands on Sanders. Because to Cleveland, he's not just a quarterback. He's the ticket to making Browns football actually watchable without drowning it in alcohol. And that right there is the nightmare for the rest of the league. If Sanders turns into what Cleveland believes he will, then every single team that passed on him is going to look ridiculous, like clowns entertaining kids at a birthday party. The Saints, who picked Tyler Show over him, will need therapy. The Bengals, Dolphins, Rams, and Colts will all be haunted, kicking themselves for not putting more on the table.
It's him to be the security blanket, which is what you brought him there for to begin with. You didn't bring him there to lead the Browns. You brought him to be a security blanket in the event that you couldn't find somebody else who could do it. That's why people in Cleveland were looking at it last year. Why the hell isn't he here last year? What the hell you let him get out the door for before you ultimately brought him back after the season he had a couple of years ago? But I do think it's important to bring this one nugget up. I'm looking at the average time to throw for a quarterback last year in the National Football League. Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was like at 2.42 to 3.14 seconds, if I remember correctly, based on what I read.
And the rest of the league, they'll be sitting back in pure disbelief, wondering how Cleveland, of all franchises, the NFL's eternal punchline, managed to pull off what looks like the steal of the century. But here's the cruel twist. Shedeur Sanders is still parked at third string, not even suiting up on Sundays. Cleveland's got hope, swagger, and untapped potential just wasting away on the bench, while Flacco trots out looking like a relic from the Obama administration. It's like dropping cash on a Ferrari only to park it in your yard as a lawn ornament. At some point, they've got to unleash him. At some point, the experiment has to begin, because you can't keep dangling hope in front of desperate fans without giving them a taste. But until that moment comes, the cycle rolls on. Teams keep calling, Cleveland keeps saying no, and Sanders stays patient, the calm eye in the middle of the NFL's dumbest storm. They're holding the entire league hostage with a fifth-round rookie, and it's driving front offices absolutely insane. Whether Sanders ends up the savior Cleveland's been waiting decades for, or just another sad chapter in their endless scrapbook of heartbreak, that part's still up in the air. But right now, one thing is locked in stone. Cleveland's not trading him. They're not budging, not blinking, and for once, they've finally got hope in their hands, and they are not letting it slip away.
I think we are dumb. I mean, they think we stupid dumb. I have a problem. If you don't want something, let Shedeur go. If you don't want him on your team, if you're not planning on starting him, let him go. If you're not planning on treating him right, let him go. But don't get us wrong. We want Shedeur to be treated just like the rest of them.
The Browns have turned into that stubborn friend who refuses to cash in a winning lottery ticket just because they like how it looks pinned on the fridge. NFL teams are out here waving draft picks, cash, and all kinds of metaphorical bribes right in their faces. And Cleveland just shrugs it all off with a smug, "Nah, we're good." And the funniest part? This is the same franchise that once convinced itself Brandon Weeden, Colt McCoy, and Johnny Manziel were actual master plans. The Browns used to be the desperate ones, but now the whole league is drooling over what they're hiding. And Cleveland isn't even pretending to be polite about it. They're flat out dismissive, almost enjoying the chaos they've caused. Meanwhile, you just know Shedeur Sanders is scrolling through Twitter, watching the league meltdown in real time, and quietly thinking, yeah, sooner or later, they're gonna need me. But the real comedy? Cleveland's current quarterback hierarchy is pure madness. Imagine telling Browns fans a few years back that they'd be begging for 40-year-old Joe Flacco to start while their shiny new toy sits unused on the sidelines. And then there's Dillon Gabriel, who's somehow being propped up like the future of the franchise, despite barely proving he's anything more than a temporary stand-in.
At this point, y'all are saying he can't do anything right. I recently saw last week when the kicker missed his kick in the last couple of seconds, Shedeur went over to give him some words of encouragement, and y'all said that he just wanted some TV time. Newsflash, the only reason why the camera was over there is because Shedeur walked over there. Like, you've been able to have an explanation for everything on why he's not good, why he can't play, but explain why you won't allow him to practice. Explain why you won't allow him to actually get better. Y'all are making it very obvious. You just want to bury him and so we can just stop talking about him. But at this point, the story is too big. Everything about this has been blown way out of proportion. I'm just looking for...
And then, right there in the middle of the locker room, like some forbidden fruit, sits Shedeur Sanders. Untouched, untested, yet somehow more valuable than half the NFL's starting quarterbacks. The league hasn't seen irony this wild since Bill O'Brien decided shipping DeAndre Hopkins off for a bag of peanuts was a genius idea. You've got playoff hopes across the league collapsing faster than Stafford's vertebrae, and every team is begging for the one player who could keep them alive, while Cleveland just keeps saying no. But here's the twist. They're not wrong to hold on tight. Sanders isn't just another quarterback prospect. He's a walking cultural reset button. Look back at what he pulled off at Jackson State. That program wasn't even on the national radar, and the moment he arrived, ESPN couldn't stop running highlights. Then he goes to Colorado, and overnight a school that was the punchline of college football suddenly turned into a must-watch event every Saturday. Now he's in Cleveland, a city so accustomed to losing they might as well trademark misery. And what does Sanders do? He flips the narrative. That's exactly why the Browns won't even consider letting him go. Because this isn't just about arm strength, accuracy, or pocket presence. Sanders is already more than a quarterback. He's a story. He's a brand. He's living, breathing hope wrapped in shoulder pads.
Shedeur Sanders is going to end up getting traded. He will not be with the Cleveland Browns for long. You can bank on that now. I'm telling you, Shedeur Sanders is going to get traded. He's not beating out all those guys in the QB room to start within the next 2 to 3 years. This year, next year, the year.
Walked up to you after taking his walk down to the pylon, and then he walked back up to you on the sidelines before Snoop went in, and he said something to you. You shook your head. I mean, was he trying to get back?
He's a competitive kid. The plan was to go with Snoop there, so but I wouldn't make any more of it than that.
If you're Cleveland, how do you even begin to sell that story? How do you look your fans in the eye and explain that you traded away not just a potential star, but the one guy who finally made them believe again? You don't. You can't. Doing that would cement you as the biggest fools in a league that once actually let Nathan Peterman throw 5 interceptions in a single half. And yet here we are talking about those 2026 prospects. Cleveland is supposedly obsessed with scouting. If you thought Shedeur Sanders' college dominance was impressive, just look at these so-called next big things. Arch Manning, the golden boy himself, tossing more incompletions than high school JV backups. Drew Aller, his stat line reads like he was chucking the ball blindfolded at practice. And these are the guys Cleveland thinks are worth drooling over? Please. Sanders was putting up cleaner numbers than that while eating lunch. And the longer Cleveland keeps him buried on the bench, the louder those trade calls get. And every single week he doesn't play, his value just keeps climbing. It's like watching a stock you scooped up for pennies suddenly explode, while the rest of the market panics and scrambles to buy in before it's too late.
If Zach Jackson and him and everybody else that we talked to have said that Shedeur looks good. He looks really good. Yes. He looks better. And we got Zach that say Dillon Gabriel ain't even an NFL quarterback.
That's true.
So how is it that this man can't get a rep with the one, but that non-NFL quarterback can?
We all
what
agree with
sense
that.
does that make?
It makes no sense.
Clearly, the guys running the team disagree with us.
Man,
it doesn't make any sense.
They're the ones.
What are y'all trying to? What is the goal of this year?
The real question now is, How long can Cleveland keep playing this little game? November 4th is creeping closer, and desperate teams are about to start scribbling blank checks just to get a seat at the table. Miami fans are sharpening their pitchforks every time Tua launches another interception. The Bengals already know their season is toast without Burrow. The Rams can't keep pretending Stafford's back isn't made of glass. And the Colts? Let's just say Richardson has delivered way more "what the hell was that?" moments than future MVP flashes. One of these teams is bound to panic hard enough to throw an offer Cleveland can't just laugh off. But until that day comes, the Browns are absolutely loving this. For once, they're not the clowns of the NFL. They're the gatekeepers of hope, clutching the one guy every desperate franchise dreams about. So they sit back, sipping tea with smug grins, watching the rest of the league spiral into madness. And if that whole picture doesn't crack you up, nothing will. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to smash that like button, share this with your crew, and hit subscribe for more chaos straight out the league.